Good morning, Harmisha. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine, and you?
Good. Hey, we need to get a one-on-one scheduled in the next couple of weeks. So let me know when you've got some time that you can come in,
Okay. You can schedule it for
that we
next
can.
week if you're available.
Hang on, let me turn the volume up because I can't hear you. You're running through the TV. What did you say?
We can schedule it for next week if you're available.
Yeah, let me take a peek here before we get started. Good morning. Is there a particular day, Harmisha, that works?
Thursday?
Thursday, you said?
Yes.
I could do like 9:30 Thursday.
Yep, that works.
Okay. Give everybody a couple of minutes and see who else is coming, and then I am gonna record this one. But we shall see. Here is the packet. I don't know if you had printed this or not, but I will give it. Joins us. I'm gonna say we're gonna give everybody about 2 more minutes and then we'll get started. And then, Brian, if we don't have a lot of agents coming today and we don't have a lot of questions and participation, then we'll just roll right into looking at your paperwork. Okay.
Print it out.
Okay, if you want to take notes on it, that's fine. I can tell you one thing for sure is you have way too many documents in there. You don't need all of those. That will make things be way more confusing to try to fill up. Yeah, you pulled, so keep this in mind, and I am doing a dot loop class. I think it's next week. We'll talk a little about this. In the templates in dot loop that you pulled from, those are just any possible document you would need for every scenario. Which that is right. So definitely when you create a loop, do not let it just sit. It will prompt you to select a template, buyer or seller. And if you just select it, it's going to pull everything in. So bypass that. And then you'll just go to add document from templates, open up the sales folder, and then you're going to pick and choose the documents you need. The documents that you need for almost every transaction, unless it's like, so for example, it puts in there multi-purpose addendums. You don't need that right now. It puts in their escrow instructions, which you don't need until the transaction is almost closing. It gives you a home warranty brochure as well as a home warranty waiver. You would only need one or the other. It gives you vacant land purchase agreement and a regular purchase agreement, which you of course wouldn't need both. And lots of other, it gives you a appraisal gap. If you're not doing an appraisal gap, then you don't need to put that in there. Do you know what I mean? So like that, I'm sure that especially for a new person, when they open that up and they see all those documents, that has to look like, whoa, this is a lot of crap. I don't know what this is. And so if that's what happened, it's because for one, you probably could reduce it by half. Which is good news. So I would lean into the PC sample buyer template. I have a PC sample buyer and a PC sample seller. And in there, I have filled out, as an example, all of the paperwork that you would need and how to fill it out.
Yeah, I was going through.
Okay, good. And so those documents are the ones that you need. Anything outside of that, you'll just kind of pick like a menu. So yeah, all right, I'm gonna close the door and we're gonna get started. you guys came on time, so we're gonna respect your time. I'm a little surprised we're not, just like I get that it snowed outside, but, so thank you for coming in. But I'm really surprised that I'm almost inclined not to record this, to be honest with you. Because it annoys me for people to think that this is a workshop, which is supposed to be interactive. And if nobody comes so that they can just watch the recording later, that's not fair to the people that do come, and I feel like it's not fair to me. So I may not record this. I'm a little annoyed by the people who didn't come because this particular topic is like a really good topic for people to come to. So it really surprises me, the few that are here. So, but thank you, the both of you. Oh, and we've got Bree. So we've got one more taker. Hello. I was just saying that I felt like this is a topic that like everyone who can possibly be here should be here. And this is what happens this time of the year, so I did.
Okay.
I feel like, I appreciate those of you who take your time and energy to come. So we go through a lull this time of the year. And that goes for business, we're slow, but it also is like, you'll notice that the classes and like probably the team meeting next week will be slimmer than usual. I don't know why so many people just kind of get a little bit lazy this time of the year, when really I feel like this time of the year is the time to learn and put all your stuff together, get organized, do your planning, and you can spend so much time on building your social media content for the whole year. Like this is what we do when we're kind of slow, rather than kind of just being lazy. And then all of a sudden come March, people start getting busier again, and then they don't have time for the other stuff. Anyway, so I think I'm not gonna record it because I don't want the people that didn't come just to fall back on well, she'll record it and I can watch it later. So, all right, so thanks for joining. I'm gonna do a share screen. For those of you joining on Zoom, the packet for this workshop is in the Google Drive, and it's called Agent Fundamentals Workshop, so you can find it there. I did print several copies, so anyone who wants to come in and snatch one up, you can as well. But let me do share screen. And get into it. Anything new and exciting happening with anybody the past day or so?
Really?
Nope. As I said, it's kind of a weird, slow kind of time of the year. So right here, so I'm in the drive, so just so that you can see where it's at, it's right there in that folder. All right, so this is a locker room topic, and what goes along with this, as most of you know who dipped into the university, there's a workbook for every different kinds of training. So that means that there are training module videos on every single one of the things in this playbook or workbook. So we're going to talk about a bunch of different topics that are in here today, because I meant for today's class to kind of be a launch of these topics. And we're going to intertwine these individually, some in Dominate Your Weeks, some in specific other classes that will be dedicated to these specific topics. So you'll see some of these things in a much bigger way. I mean, every single thing we're going to talk about isn't something that can be worthy of an hour class for sure. So we're going to kind of go through some of those. But there are some really deep things in here that are warranted to its own training class, if that makes sense. So we'll do that too. But I would highly recommend you getting into the university and watching the modules that go along with this, because that gives you a much better, fuller description. And then we're going to have our discussions based around that kind of thing. All right. So who knows what the 5 to 25 challenge is?
It's like 5 ways to get 25 homes
Yeah,
sold. Okay.
very good. Yes, yes. It is.
I
It's
don't know what they are though.
5 different ways that you can sell 25 homes. So if, again, when you're in the Locker Room University, you chose a path 1 or path 2, it was going to dictate how many houses you sell. Path 1 is at your own pace. So that could be 1 house, 2 houses, 10 houses. That's at your own pace. Path 2 is the path to 25 transactions. So these activities are going to be broken down in those modules, individually. So basically, what I want to talk about, and I really want this to be an open question, workshop-y kind of forum. So I know there's only 4 of you here, but I would love to hear what kinds of things you have been doing, what kinds of things you are doing, and what kinds of things you either have questions about or will be implementing into your business. So imagine this. Imagine that someone, meaning me, says to you, do you want to sell 25 houses in 2025? The numbers even make sense, right? So, and you said, yes, I would love to do that. Or better yet, what would the income of selling 25 houses look like for you in your life, and how would that change things for you? So like Bree, 25 houses would give you the ability to quit your other job, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
And at minimum, if you sold 25 house, at minimum, you would make 50 grand. And that's bare minimum, meaning that you're only making a couple $1,000s on each transaction, which would mean that it was low price properties and low commissions after splits and all. That's a minimum. Most people that sell 25 houses are much, much closer to 6 figures. Because also somewhere in there, you're going to cap to 100%. So probably right around 12 to 15 transactions is where you're going to cap to 100%. So that's going to be a much bigger chunk of your income there. And you're probably going to be closer to 6 figures. So, well, and it says right there, the simplest path to earning 6 figures. Didn't even know that was in front of my face. In any case, and so if I said, so I know, so who's full-time? Like I would say, Bree, you're still full-time. Full-time doesn't mean that you don't have another job. It just means that you're full-time in real estate. Would you say that you're full-time? Or part-time?
Part-time.
Okay, and so part-time would be half that potentially, right? How about you guys on Zoom? Are you full-time in real estate? And listen, by that, I mean, you could have another job and still be full-time in real estate, or you could not have another job and still be part-time in real estate. So are you guys full or part-time? If you'd unmute yourself real quick, if you're able.
I would say part-time.
Okay. And we're in the chat. Part-time, okay. And so part-time in real estate still means you're working 20 hours a week. And it's okay if you're working less than that. That just means you're less than part-time. If you go get a part-time job someplace and you're working actual part-time hours, that would be 20 hours a week because full-time is 40. That doesn't mean people don't work 10-hour-a-week jobs. They certainly do. But then now you have to think about, well, how can I get to a 6-figure income if I'm working 10 hours a week in real estate? Maybe that's not your goal, and that's okay. But point being is this. If you said, this is what I want to do, or a piece of this even, because you can chop this up however you want, meaning it could be the 5 to 12 12 transactions challenge, or it could be 4 transactions. So you can divide it up however you want, or it could be, I want to sell 50 houses and then you just double it. The point is this. As a real estate agent, you have a job description. And I think a lot of people come into this and don't realize what that is. And so I watch many of you, and I understand it because I was in that place at some point in my career as well when I was new. You don't know what to do with your time. You don't know how to spend those hours that you have said, this is the amount of time I'm putting into real estate. So if you're putting 40 hours in, how am I spending those 40 hours? We had a really successful agent in coaching about a year and a half ago. And what changed for him is one day in a class, he heard me say, are you working full-time hours if you're claiming to be full-time? And he said to me in a one-on-one, that was the earth-shattering, life-changing moment for him because he thought to himself, oh my gosh, I'm not. And I never thought about it like that. And he thought then, well, what should I be doing with that time? Tell me how to spend 40 hours. Tell me how to spend 20 hours a week. And then we put together his plan like we do when we do our one-on-ones. And he went on to sell many houses, rookie of the year, still does great. I think he even has an office space now of his own. And he was brand new and he was a very young person, just graduated high school. I'll never forget his story when I asked him, why did you get into real estate? And he said, I will only tell you this because then you'll remember the story. He said when he was like 8 years old, he remembers being at a gas station with his mother, and there was a lady in nice clothes in a Maserati next to them at the pump. And he was staring out of the window at her. And then she said, she noticed him and she just said, would you like to get in my car? Which is a little bit weird. But she said to the mom, he seems really interested. I'm not trying to be weird, but would he like to sit behind the wheel? And, they were like, sure, yeah, of course. And so he did. And then he said to her, what do you do? So he's 8 years old and he says, what do you do to be able to have this fabulous car, basically? And she said, I'm a real estate agent. And so it was his dream forever since he's 8 years old to be a real estate agent because of that encounter. So you just never know. But my point of bringing that up to you and tell you is an encouragement. Sure, not everybody had that dream or thought that they wanted to be in real estate their whole life, but he had that kind of, okay, this has always been my dream. So now what do I need to do? And so my point there in a really long way is to tell you, here's the job description. If you didn't know what it was, it's right here. This is the things that people do to get successful in real estate. You just can decide how much of this you're going to do. And that means how many hours. There is no magic potion about it. Sure, there's a little bit of luck. Sometimes there's a little bit of luck. Could someone fall into a really lucky transaction or bump into someone that, is an investor and they buy 10 properties from you? Sure, things like that do randomly happen, but there's still a plan around it. By the way, last year doesn't dictate this year. It's like a clean slate again. I've been doing this for 26 years now, and it doesn't matter how much I sold last year. I could sell nothing this year if I do nothing. Anyway, so here it is. An agent's job is to, one, daily lead generate with a minimum of 5 real estate conversations. 5. So that means now this is the 25 challenge. So if that sounds crazy to you and you're only going to sell 10 houses, then you can cut that by that amount. But I'll tell you this. I don't know. I know I saw you were on. I think Carmisha, when you were on yesterday in the locker room, and I don't know if you heard Jake say, were you on there too yesterday? No. I didn't want to leave you out if you were. I tried to scan through to see who's on there and take attendance a little bit. But anyway, Jake said something about lead generating and that his goal, which was to grow the locker room for having clients to coach, was just to get 5. And so he put, by the way, all of these things in the locker room are what he did in his business to grow as a real estate agent and as a coach. And this is how he had a very successful program. In any case, he just wanted to have five clients. And he used this system and he ended up with 300. His intentions were 5, but here's how he did it. He had a systematic process that he consistently repeated over and over and over again. And then when he got his 5 clients, he didn't stop. He kept going and going and going. So I'll say this, even if you think I only want to sell 5 houses next year, I only want to sell 10 houses, not next, I guess now we're in it. So this year, if you did these things in a systematic way, even half of it, you're going to sell more houses than you thought you'd be able to, because consistency and making a intentional decision to do stuff with real estate to generate business, you're going to sell more if you're doing it. If you do nothing, you'll have nothing. So five real estate conversations. So what might that look like? Can someone give me an example? Like what would one of the 5 be? Doesn't necessarily have to mean you're picking up the phone and calling 5 random strangers. I'll
Like
give
an
you,
Instagram DM thing.
absolutely, 5 real estate conversation. So you can message someone and say, hey, how was your holidays? And somehow inadvertently bring up real estate. We had another person in coaching, I'm gonna say 3 years ago now, Dan, we were at Stevens Circle, so it was over 3 years ago. New in real estate, and he decided what he wanted to do was to have meet one new person a day. That was his thing. So he would pick up the phone, but he wanted to physically meet one new person a day and have some kind of real estate conversation. He even would leave his house at 9:30 at night if he remembers, oh my gosh, I didn't have my one conversation, and go to the gas station and buy a pack of gum and bring up real estate to the person behind the counter or to a person that was in there as a customer. He made sure that he talked to at least one new person about real estate and met someone, gave them his card. He sold 110 houses his first year as a real estate agent. He capped in his first 45 days
Wow.
just by doing that one thing. But the reason that it worked is because he had a systematic approach to doing it. So it was a simple thing. Now his was a little different because it wasn't just, I'm going to DM 5 people who talk to me, or I'm going to call 3 people and, email 2. It was, I'm going to get face to face with one person new every day. Anyway, so there's a lot of different examples that I can give you of that. Next thing is you're doing that 5 days a week. 5 days a week. You pick the 5 days, doesn't matter. It could be Saturday if it's not Tuesday, 5 days a week. Then follow up with all your leads daily. So eventually, once you do these lead generating activities, you're going to start to have people in a pipeline. I don't care how you do your pipeline report. Your pipeline could be a spreadsheet or it could be a whiteboard. Have a visual with your pipeline. So that means that every single day you look at the top of that list and you see, John Smith, and it's funny, we actually have a friend, his name is John Smith. So I always think of him every time I use that example, but, so John Smith, and then I see when I last showed him a house, or when I last was at his house, or we last spoke, and do I need to do anything with him today to move him to the next level? Then the next person, then the next person, the next person, scan that list. These are the people that you have set up in searches that you're working with, or that you showed a house to one time. Maybe there's someone that you met at open house. All these leads will start to build up. You should be scanning that list and following up with them daily. That doesn't mean 100 people need to call every day. It just means you need to know, who am I following up with? Set appointments with buyers and sellers. Did you have a question?
How are you daily touching them? You don't have to call them.
Yeah.
Right, but
Having some kind of a conversation with them to follow up. So give me an example of who.
someone from your SOI.
Yeah, so it could be that too. So follow up,
How are you gonna reach out to them every day and then not get annoyed?
we'll keep this in mind. So there's a difference between lead gen and follow up to, see, it says all leads. Leads are not the same as your SOI contacts. So a contact is someone I know.
Right.
A lead is someone who's going to buy or sell.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference. So on that category, you're following up with all your leads, not your SOI. This is not so the lead gen, number 1, would be the calling SOI for a referral business or something, right? That falls into that category. The follow up with all your leads daily, that is the contacts that converted to become a lead.
Okay.
Do we understand the difference between a contact and a lead?
Mm-hmm.
A contact is just someone that you're speaking to that would respond to you if you text them. That's a contact. A lead is actually someone who is going to buy or sell. So brief for you, everyone you've ever showed a house to is one of your leads. Every listing appointment that you've ever gone on that hasn't listed yet, those are your leads. That pipeline report will start to build. I have examples of pipelines in the drive that you can use even. Some people need it to be right in front of their face, so they do a whiteboard. Whatever you need to do.
Yeah, I have a whiteboard, but I do every other week. It's probably not good enough.
Well, what the daily means is this: scan the list and what needs my attention today.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't mean you're calling everybody every day. That wouldn't make any sense.
Okay.
So does that make sense?
Okay.
So what you're calling about or reaching out about is So Brian, I know I was over before the holiday to take a look at your house. Here we are in January. Just wanted to check in with you to see if you were any closer to getting the house ready to list. That's a follow-up for a potential listing. Buyer, it would be, hey Bree, just wanted to check in. I saw that new listing that just came through today, because I get copied on that when they get listings, and it looked really nice. Do you want to see it later today or tomorrow? That's a follow-up for a buyer. If we don't have them set up in a search, then all we're doing is just checking in, just checking in. The whole just checking in thing, it's not gonna cut it every time. Do you know what I mean? You have to have a purpose. Buyers, it's about the house. Sellers, it's about you and a relationship with them in a different kind of a way. Set appointments with buyers and sellers and core advocates. So if you're making those follow-up calls, you're gonna set appointments. Negotiating contracts. If you're not negotiating contracts, you're not selling houses, and role play and practice scripts regularly. Well, it says 5 times a week with somebody. And report your activities and results. So in the university, there's even a tracker for your daily responsibilities. Here's a list of the job description of a real estate agent. I don't know if you guys have noticed Jason, who sits out here occasionally, and is working hard. He's new to our brokerage. He was a KW agent up north somewhere. And, he's come to our office because he's moving here. He's not living here yet. He's from Lakewood. He drives here every single day.
Oh, is that Jason? What?
Yes. Every single day he drives here from Lakewood because they haven't moved here yet. And do you know what he's doing? He's calling for sale by owners and expired listings, which of course he could do from home.
Yeah.
But he knows that it's work and he needs to be in a work environment. And so he gets dressed like he's going on an appointment. He's not dressed like he's having a comfy day. He comes in, he sits there, and he makes calls to expireds and for sale by owners. He took 9 listings last month just from calling expireds in for sale by owners. Now, if you don't know what you're going to say, don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. I am certain that he has good scripts that he's practicing and using. And then eventually you're doing it so much that you can get accustomed to calling people and understand what the obstacles are. And he's got a plan about it. So don't get too stuck in the planning phase that you don't do the work. But also, if you just start picking up the phone and people hang up on you because you didn't know what to say, then you get discouraged and then you won't do it anyway. So have some kind of plan. You should be scripting this with someone else in coaching or someone else in your life. I know Ken makes his wife script with him all the time. Or we always have people that are looking for scripting partners. So that would be something to do. So that's just one example. Networking, holding different events or attending different events, and of course, holding open houses are some examples. Follow up with your leads or referrals by the end of the day. So anytime someone reaches out to you, make sure you get back by the end of the day. Those are obvious things. You should be scheduling buyer consultations and getting buyers pre-approved even before they're ready to start looking at houses, if you've gotten in contact with somebody prior to them wanting to see a house, right? So that might be a referral. If I get a referral, I'm going to give them a call and I'm going to say, let's have a phone conversation meeting, or let's get together and let's talk about what your needs are. So that's the needs analysis. So where are you looking? What's your price range? Let's get you pre-approved, all those kinds of things. You're like, I don't know the exact stat, but it's like 10 times more likely to sell someone a house if you do a buyer consultation than if you don't. If you don't do a buyer consultation in some way, then you're just the person who opened the door that one day to show them a house. And then you say they ghosted me. Well, they never thought that you were their agent. So that's why. You should be, holding a minimum of core advocate meetings each week. So those are with people that you can get referrals from. That would be like having a friend go to coffee and tell them you're trying to grow your business. Negotiating with buyers and sellers. If you're not having contracts, you're not, going to sell houses, of course. Again, role play 5 times a week. And then make sure you're tracking everything. Make sure you're tracking your activities, your results, and of course, your wins. And this is the kind of stuff that we talk about at Dominate Your Week is, what are you doing this week? What did you do? What kind of wins did you have? Obviously, what questions do you have? And as you can see here at the bottom, it says that you're committing to these activities, and there's even a spot for your signature. You're just doing this with yourself. You're not signing this with the locker room. You're not signing this with Keller Williams or with me. You're just signing it for yourself. Let's see if I can rotate this. I want to go over this. Any questions about that where I try to figure out if I can rotate this share screen? Huh. It's not letting me right click. No, nothing. Okay, well, I don't know why it's not giving, maybe because I'm on a share screen and my toolbar is not there to rotate. Damn.
Do you have to open it with the Google Docs?
Maybe. See if it works. Seems like it's
I
taking.
have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I printed out a lot of the scripts
Mhm.
that you've provided, but there's a lot of.
There's a ton.
Different topics.
Yep.
If you're practicing 5 times a week, should you be practicing one script?
That's an amazing question.
Because I get overwhelmed trying to.
You should be mastering a script. Oh, that's weird.
Oh, my.
Let's see if it gets to the wheel. Yeah, I guess not.
What in the world?
Okay, we're gonna have to live it this way, but that's a fantastic question. So thank you for asking that. If you guys didn't hear him, he's wanting to know is because we have so many scripts in so many places, should you be trying to do a different script every day or master one? Master one. So no reason you'll never. If I go outside and I practice shooting baskets one day, and then I practice hitting with the baseball another day, I practice skiing another day, I practice, swimming another day. Like, am I ever gonna get good at any one of those sports if I only do it once? Because there's so many to try, right? No. So what I would say is figure out which thing you want to learn most about. And then you practice that script until you're comfortable enough to say, you know what, I can get on the phone now and I can work through this script without hesitation. And so that would be the same one. When I do scripting with a partner, we're doing if you do bold, we're doing the same script the whole way through. The same exact script, the entire 12 weeks or whatever the heck it is, 8 or 12 weeks. You're doing it again with your partner, again, until you get comfortable. And then you take turns with your scripting partner. You go as the agent, then I go as the agent. It's not one way. You're both doing it. So you're helping and they're helping you at the same time. But if you want to know what the most important scripts are, I'll give you the first two. And then it's going to just depend on what you're interested in. The very first most important script is, what do I say to my people in my world? What do I say to the people that I'm trying to get their business or referrals from? But if you don't have an SOI potentially business, then it wouldn't make sense to be that to be the most important script, right? If you aren't from here and you're gonna just do internet leads, then that script isn't as relevant, right? But if you want to have a script that helps you when you bump into a friend or you're going to do outreach to SOI, that script is in there, and it basically it's I have a goal script. The I have a goal script starts with hey, I don't know if you know, but I got my real estate license last year and I have a goal this year to sell 25 houses. Just wondered if you had a minute for me to tell you a little bit about that and how you could help me. Blah, blah, blah. It goes into all the things. That's one to learn, because when you wonder, what the heck am I going to say to people that I know? That's going to help you with that script, and it's going to flow so much better. And then I will tell you that I, in my opinion, the next most important script is the LP Mama script. That's the best buyer script that's out there. If you master LP Mama, then you'll always know what to say to a potential buyer in any scenario. over the phone because it's a sign call, internet lead. They message you from a social media post, you met them at open house, they're a referral and you're calling them. I can go on for every single scenario that you ever are first talking to a buyer. The LP Mama is the most important script to master, which is location, price, and it goes on. You know, like that script is something that if you don't ask those questions, then you won't know how to help them and they won't think that you're trying to figure out what they need from you. For a seller, it's not really a script, it's more of a thing to fill out, but it's called Red Sheet and it's in the seller folder and in scripts. Those are the questions that you're asking a potential seller to prepare for your listing appointment. And then of course, there's overcoming obstacles with clients, and there's a couple different scripts for buyers and sellers about that. How do I overcome the obstacle if someone doesn't want to sign the buyer agency agreement? How do I overcome the obstacle if someone doesn't want to pay me the commission that I'm charging? So those types of things maybe are later down the line. If you're going to start to call for sale by owners and expired listings, those are the scripts you should follow. Those ones, like those are the top priority. Okay, I'm gonna start calling for sale by owners, practice those scripts. All right, you're welcome. All right, so sorry this isn't turning around the other way. We did an entire class on this agent wheel and we will again. So as I mentioned, this is kind of just the kickoff for this particular series of topics. So what we're going to do is I'll not have it in this particular form where I can have it turned. Here's basically, if you weren't at the class, and I know Bree, you were, what we talked about is you take this printout and we're going to go through and ask you these questions for each of these quadrants and how you would score yourself from 1 to 10. So I would encourage you to take a look at this and figure out. Now, of course, if you're brand new, you may have a very low score on all of this, and that's okay, because then the next question is what do we need to do to increase your score? There's questions that go along with all of those quadrants, which will be a whole class in itself. As I said earlier, some of these topics are classes in themselves. So that is one that we will be doing here in the up and coming weeks and months. Questions about that? So I love talking about DISC, and I love this particular class, and then this particular slide. And what was the date? Mark just told me, oh, it's coming up in January sometime, and I don't remember now what the heck the date is, but look for it on the calendar. It might be happening during Education Day, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that, but I'll look. They're going to, it's the KPA class. You all would have gotten an email about doing your KPA, right? So DISC and KPA are very similar. DISC is the DISC, which is what we're going to talk about here. The KPA is your Keller-Williams personality assessment. Little bit different, but bottom line still tells you what, the KPA is frighteningly accurate. When you do it and you get your results, that last page that has the paragraph describing you, like I remember reading mine for the first time and I was like looking over my shoulder, like, oh my God, is somebody like, this is so accurate. I can't even believe it. It's creepy. In any case, the class is going to be about how can I decide who I should be seeking to lead generate? So for example, if you're a high I and you like talking to people, then going out and networking won't be a problem for you. But if you're a high D and you don't like talking to people that way, you probably aren't going to do it. You might just need to then pick up the phone or do social media posts. So that's just a little touch of an example. So that class is going to take your KPA and it's going to help you figure out who is the group of people or source of business that I should be reaching out to based on my personality type. So it gives you some great suggestions and insights on that. Make sense? All right, so let's talk a little bit about DISC. Does everybody know, or is everyone on here? Have you all taken the DISC? Does anyone know the results from DISC? Can you share? What are you?
I think I'm like SC, like half and half.
Yeah, well, it's always, yes, so I'm a DI, you're an SC. I would have guessed an S. Just because you have a more, quieter personality than like somebody who's a chatty Cathy in the corner who we're always looking at saying shh, you know, which would be like a high I. Anybody else? Do you guys know on Zoom? Do you know? Have you done disc?
I took it, I just didn't know how to get the results.
Oh, so what happens is we have to request them. So if you did it, we need to check with Mark and see where those results have gone to. Harmisha, did you do your disc when you first started?
Yeah, I'm a C.
Let's see,
I
right, we
don't
did
know like
discuss that.
what
Yep.
the other half is, but I do know I'm a C.
Yeah, and that makes sense, right? Detailed. So let's talk about those a little bit here. So D is dominant, I is an influencing, S is stable, and C is cautious, but within there, there's all of these descriptors and basically what you are and what you should do. Wow, this works out really good because it does, I'll have to give this to Mark. This actually just, I didn't even look at it before just now. It actually tells you as your personality type what you should be doing and who you should be reaching out to. So here it says D is good for cold calling for sale by owners, expired, circle prospecting. Do you guys know what circle prospecting is? So it's taking a particular address and then circle prospecting around that. So like, for example, every time I sell a house, I circle prospect that house. So that means I sold a house here at 123 Main Street. I send out mailings to 100 people around that address. And so then I market to those people that, hey, I sold your neighbor's house down the street, blah, 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 kind of thing. So that's circle prospecting. Door knocking, targeting home builders, and so on. It says, other options for marketing for a high D versus the high I. A high I hosting lifestyle events, which might also be like first-time home buyer seminars, networking events, attending, things like that. If you aren't a high I, you might not be, if you're at an event of some kind, you might not feel comfortable talking to people, which means, it doesn't mean that we don't want to step outside of our box a little bit, but if you're not going to pull people into you, if that's not your personality, then maybe don't do those kinds of things. So here's the the do's and the don'ts for it. Same with the S, home buyer seminars, networking events, swag gear, which is funny. So by swag gear, they mean, wearing your name tag, wearing a Keller Williams hat, wearing a Keller Williams t-shirt with saying something on the back, ask me about buying and selling homes or something like that. And then here's the details also for high Cs. And the first thing that jumps out to me is the geographic farming and direct mailers, because high Cs are very detailed people, will and feel confident by doing the mailings that they've got it right. And then you can probably also dig deep and be consistent with it versus a high I. A high I might do a mailing one time, and then because they don't get immediate results, never do it again. But a high C is going to, stick to it. So there's some great examples on that. So definitely come to Education Day that day, going over that KPA, because it's going to dig into those things much, much deeper. Questions about any of that?
The circle prospecting, how do you, is there a way to get a list?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways you can get a list. The title company will give you a list if you ask them for one, but what I do, because I don't want to wait for it, is just go on to the MLS and then go on to Realist, and then you can type in an address and then look at the neighboring, it'll pump out a whole spreadsheet of the neighboring properties.
Um, I tried accessing Realist yesterday, it said that I don't have permission. Like from the MLS,
To get on Realist?
like there's a link that says Realist.
Yeah.
Or money sign next to it, yeah, I clicked on it. It turned it out, but it says I can't access it.
I don't know why.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll take that.
yep, that's it, but I don't know what would have, I mean, maybe just call the board and ask them. Because if you have MLS access, you have realist access, so I don't know why that would. Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's weird.
Yeah, that's a little odd. So something maybe is just glitching on your end, that I would call the board about that. It's not a KW thing because it's through the MLS. So, but you could always go on like Stark County Auditors and do the same thing.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Okay, good. Yeah, yep. So you can put in a street name and search it, and then all of the addresses will pop up that's on that street, including the homeowner's name.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, and you can put that onto a spreadsheet so that you can just print labels, so you don't have to write them all out either. So don't ask me how to do that. I have people do that for me. But there is a way. All right, the 19 things they don't teach you in real estate school. So some of this will be some of the topics that I'm going to break up into Dominate Your Week, because again, this is not necessarily something that is an entire class. But it's good, we can break it up into little pieces, parts throughout the weeks and Dominate Your Week. But this starts with filling this out. So again, remember, this is a workshop. So as you're following along in your packet, this is something that I would love for you guys to fill out so that when we do discuss this and Dominate Your Week, you actually can, tell me your score. If we were only in person and I had a full room, this is when I would stop and say, let's partner up and you guys go ahead and fill this out and have a discussion around it. But because we don't have enough people here today to do that, what I'd love to do from this then is just maybe touch on the first few as a group. It wouldn't make any sense because you guys are on Zoom and you'd be just staring at us having these guys to here partner. So let's try to walk through this a little bit together. So it looks like it's on a scale of 1 to 5. Number 1 being, what is this? Well, it looks like 1 and 2 is what is this? Needing improvement, and then 5 is mastered. So you could be somewhere between 1 and 2, not knowing what it is, needing improvement, 3 and 4, and then mastered. So right now, if I said to you, how do you feel your database is on that scale of 1 to 5? Would your answer be, what is this, needs improvement, or you've mastered it? And anyone can go ahead and unmute or tell me what you feel about your database.
Needs improvement, probably.
Yeah, so probably around the 3.
Okay. But you know what it is, so you're beyond the I don't know what it is. Because when you come day 1 into real estate, you're like, database? What the heck is that? So at least we're past that. How about you guys on Zoom? What would you rate yourself on that scale for your database? And plug it into the chat if you can't unmute. Or go ahead, Carmisha.
I would say a 4. Like, I wouldn't say it's mastered, but it don't need a lot of improvement, being that I've been trying to keep up on it.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Are you feeding it regularly? Meaning, are you
Yeah.
adding new people to your database on a regular basis?
Yes.
Okay, do you know how many you have in your database right now?
I know I reached over my 100, so I want to say probably like 120-ish.
So here's what I would challenge you with. So let me define what mastered means. Maybe that might help too. A mastered database is more than 500. Everybody in there, you have their name, you have, if they're married, their spouse's name, you have their phone numbers and email addresses and home address.
Okay, so it's a 3, need improvement.
Okay, that's why, yes, and I wasn't trying to answer that for you, but so that would be mastered. Wait, and there's one more step beyond that, which is this. And everybody is in a consistent smart drip plan consistently. So that means when their smart plan ends, you have a plan B to their second smart plan. So a smart plan could just be a monthly newsletter, which by the way, Amanda does for us. So that could be a monthly newsletter. And then at the end of the year, we put them in a new monthly newsletter. So some kind of a smart plan. Not everybody in every tag or category is going to have the same one. So a master database is over 500. You have all the content information for, again, and if you have a husband and a wife, you have them both in one contact, not separate. they're one contact, and you have both of their phone numbers and both of their email addresses as one, that's one contact. Unless they're getting divorced, that's one contact. And that you are regularly knowing what the next step is for some type of a drip campaign, smart plan, campaigns you're sending them, whatever that looks like. I saw there was something else in the chat. No worries about your other job, and a 4. And okay, and you moved it to a 3. Okay, good. I maybe probably should have told you guys that before we answered that question. I'll even tell you mine. I probably have 2,000 people in my database, and I would say I'm a 3. I need huge improvement. I need to readjust my tags. And here's why. When I started using Command and I dumped everybody in, I probably should have cleaned it up before that. And so smart plans end and I don't get notified and I don't know who's on one and who's not. And so mine is not a disaster, but it needs some huge improvement. And I certainly don't have everybody's phone numbers and email addresses, most, but not all. My biggest challenge with mine is everybody tagged correctly? And the only way to do that is to actually go through one by one some point and re-tag them, or, spend some time on that. So you guys are in a good spot as you're building your database. Do it right from the beginning, and then you won't be like me saying, oh my God, I have over 2,000 people, and it's a little bit of a nightmare for me to have to go into each one individually and make sure I've got everything. So the way we handle that is we audit our database regularly. So by auditing your database, like what I'm saying is I start at the top and I just start doing 10 a day. Are all 10 of these people, do I have all their information? Are they on a smart plan or something? Am I sending them something regularly? And then tomorrow, 10 more, 10 more, 10 more. And if I don't have their email addresses, I'm going to call them, and there's a script for that of how to get their email address, or vice versa. So you should be auditing your database quite regularly to do it. All right, next one, focus on net income. So what this means is a lot of times people focus on what they want to make. That is not your net. So you need to, in Millionaire Real Estate Agent, there's a budget model. And in that budget model, that means this: I have a business. How much money every month do I have to spend on my business? Well, a portion of what you're spending on your business is dues, right? Your monthly bill to KW, signage, lock boxes, those kinds of expenses throughout the year, maybe photography, maybe some marketing, some boosts of posts. Maybe you're going to go on Command and do some ads and pay $25 a month to get some leads, which, by the way, is a training that's coming up here real soon. So focus on your net income. So when someone says to me, I want to make 6 figures, do you want to net 6 figures? Are you going to spend, don't forget there's taxes that come out too. Is your goal to bring home 100? If so, then your goal should be to make 140. So rate yourself on that. Lead generating daily. So this one I would like to pause and have you guys give yourself a score on this. Lead generating daily. So this is not just lead generating daily. Now that doesn't mean 7 days a week, it means 5. So how would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5? Based on this scale, I would define it like this before you give your answer. A 1 is obvious. What is this? What is lead generating daily? Don't know what it is. That's why it's a 1. Between 2 and 3 and 4, I would say needs improvement could range from 2 being, I do it sometimes, but with no regularity. Don't even know who I should reach out to, but I know what it means. And 3 would be, I'm trying to get some systems together, but I haven't quite gotten there yet. 4 is I have my systems in place. I am reaching out on a regular basis, but maybe not everybody, not all the time, every day. And of course, mastered is I have a complete system built. I'm adding people to my database. I'm regularly reaching out to grow my business from it. Great. How about you guys? Okay,
now, cause some are working.
you're still in the learning, figuring out what you want to do. You haven't reached out.
Ready for the leads yet,
Gotcha.
but I'm prepared.
Got it. Got it. How about you, Brie? And you, Carmisha?
I would say like a 3 to a 4, like
Okay.
in between there.
Okay, so because you are doing it to some degree, you have some systems in place. What would
It's
make
just
it
not like enough.
Right.
Like daily, like
the
you,
amount of people?
yeah.
So what would make it a 4, meaning you have more people to reach out to? What would make it a 4?
Just being more consistent with it.
Okay, fair enough. How about you, Carmisha?
I would say pretty much the same between 3 and 4, and the consistency would be um the thing to bring me to the 4 at least.
Okay, love it. And so as you're scoring these and you're thinking about that, I really do want you to answer this question with the bottom. So what are 2 areas that you would like to focus on to move your business forward? So when you answer all of these, what are the 2 main things you want to focus on to increase your score? So the point of doing this is, these are all of the things I need to be doing as a real estate agent. How can I get from a 1 to a 2? Or how can I get to from a 3 to a 4? I'm someone, the word mastered to me, I don't know that we can achieve that. I couldn't tell you that, sure, there's highly successful agents and teams that we can say they've mastered it. However, mastered means to me, is there more to learn? I don't know. I'm just that person that it's not, nothing's ever a 10. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that as high as I could go would ever be a 9.5, because there's always room for improvement. So mastered's a really touchy word for me, because I believe there's always room for improvement. Wouldn't it be fair enough to say, in real estate, it changes over time. So just because you mastered something, so like I won't name any names, but I can think of 3 people right now who've been in the business for 30 plus years, and they had mastered their business. They're living now off of the fruits of their labor from 20 years ago. But isn't there now things they need to learn to remaster the way we do business? So I would beg to differ. We mostly fall in the 3 to 4, and we've got a long way to go. By we, I mean even me, to get to a 5 potentially, if ever. So I want you guys to finish this off, and I would love for us to again spend some time on Mondays having conversations around these items, and then see how we can move that needle forward. Make sense? Questions about any of that? And then I would also love to hear what you feel is your 2 most important things that you want to focus on first, we'll say. Time management. I love this. I love this exercise. We'll have to do this as a group. It's where you go through and circle 10 to 15 words that you feel is something that speaks to you. So as you go through the list, what 10 to 15 words actually speak to you? We can turn this into a whole half of a class to do that. So and what we do is then I'm telling you what we do, because we'll spend 30 minutes just on this, but I would like for you to do this exercise and we can have a discussion around it as well. I don't think it's quite a whole class. Again, something that we can discuss and dominate your week throughout the couple weeks. But what I would love for you to do right now is just go through and circle 10 to 15, or, draw a star next to, or whatever. So when you're selecting your words, it's what speaks to you, what's important to you, what describes you. There's blanks if there's words that are missing. The one I recently did actually was 3 big full columns of words, but for right now, will work from this. So like starting at the top, Is achievement important to me? Is it important enough that I'm going to circle it in my, you can only do 10 to 15 because otherwise we'd all circle everything. You're judging yourself. This is not judgment from anybody else. We all will narrow that list down. So as you go through and select your 10 to 15, what the most important things to you are, then what we do is we start dissecting that list. And then what we do, part 2 of that is then we divide that into groups. And then from those 10 to 15, you have to cross off so many. So probably this exercise might be a little different, but we're going to cross 5 of them off. So you've circled 10 to 15 and you're going to cross off 5. And you're only going to leave on the list well, in this case, if you have 15, you'll have 10 left. If you did 10, you'll have 5 left. And so that's where it starts to get really challenging, because now you have to say, oh gosh, is freedom more important than balance? Which one do I need to get rid of? So when you're doing this exercise, keep in mind, some of these words are very similar. Fitness and nutrition could be in a similar type category. Which one is more important? Kind of a thing. Friends and being social would be in, so you can, when you're thinking about, oh gosh, which one should I get rid of? Keep ones that have another word that's very similar, right? And then we can get rid of that. Like family and friends are 2 different things. So, and so then the last step is then to cross them off again until we do it a couple different cycles until we get to our 3 core values. If I told you, look at this list and circle your 3 core values, you would not have the same results. Trust me, I've been in a room before where they've done it that way just to prove the point. If you launched in and just circled 3 things you think are the most important, it is not the same as if you start with 10 to 15 that are important to you and we start shaving those off to ultimately come to your core values. So I would love for you guys to take some time to do that exercise. And again, we'll have conversations about that, just because it just does take about 30 minutes to get through it. And then it just kind of ties right into these leading questions. What do you find to be the most important thing at this stage of your life? So thinking about those core values, what's most important to you right now? So somebody who's retirement age, that might be freedom. Listen, guys, if you're under the age of 50, your most important thing shouldn't be freedom. Because if you're under 50, you're at the stage of your life where you're in relationships, children, maybe grandchildren, all these other things. Freedom is not the thing. Unless you're independently wealthy, freedom implies that you aren't going to work. So keep that in mind, because people tend to miss at this stage in your life. Maybe I'm working hard in this stage so I can have freedom in the future. That could be a thing. That's not me. I will work forever because I don't want to slow down, and I could change my mind about that, but I enjoy what I do. And until I don't, retirement's never going to be in my future. I can't stand this past 2 weeks of this downtime through the holidays. I'm like antsy wanting to do something. So I couldn't wait to get back to work. What do you think your greatest strengths are? And again, those thoughts will start to come to your mind because we just did that core value exercise too. And here's just another example of, and I don't want to keep you guys too long but of finding your strength zone. We did this exercise, I'm going to say 6 months ago, maybe, when we were going over some of our Ignite class topics, which is a series of KW trainings, which we are going to put on the calendar for this year, probably closer into June. So it defines what is a priority for time management. So like every day we all have a list of things that we have to do. We have appointments, we have classes, we have meetings, we might have something sociable going on. We have a lot of different things and we have a lot of distraction. We have to be able to decide which things are important that we have to do and what things we can maybe push or eliminate in the 4 quadrants. This is an entire training class, which we will go over in Ignite, but it's a great reflection of that when those things come at you. So for example, when one of you guys in coaching is writing an offer and you text me and say, hey, I need your help. Depending on the situation, for me, not you, for me as your coach, is it urgent and important? Is it important but not urgent? Is it urgent but not important? Or is it not important and not urgent? So I can process elimination. If you're writing an offer and me helping you, we can take 4 off because it is important and it could be urgent. Is it urgent but not important? No, because it is important. So we can take that whole bottom quadrant off. For me, for you, it might be urgent and important. For me, it's important, but it's not urgent. Does that make sense? Here's why. In this scenario, I'm not on call 24/7. So your urgent might not be my urgent, right? I try to be as available as I possibly can, and I feel I do a pretty good job of it. But at 10 o'clock at night might not be when you're needing to write the offer because they're not going to really be submitting until Tuesday at 3 o'clock anyway, kind of a thing. So you have to determine in these situations. I went and I showed 5 houses and they love one and they want to write an offer, but the agent calls me and says, we have 15 offers and you've got to have it in by 7 p.m. Now that might move that scenario up to an urgent and important scenario, right? If I get an offer on my listing, would you say that's urgent and important or important but not urgent? Just out of curiosity. I'm a listing agent and I've gotten an offer. Let's say right now at 11:04 today, I'm getting a text message right now from an agent telling me that they've sent me an offer on my listing. Is that a 1 or a 2?
I'd say 1.
Never 1.
You don't
Would
have to tell them though. that
So
way?
would
Maybe
I
not
stop
really.
this class to take the call and present an offer to my seller? You understand what urgent means. It means I'm dropping everything and doing it right now. So just because an agent who did a showing, let's say at 9 o'clock this morning, texts me right now while we're in this class and I'm teaching you right now, and they say, I've sent you an offer. Would I ever get up and walk out of here and make you guys sit here and stop teaching the class? I don't even take bathroom breaks during classes. So is that urgent?
No.
It's not urgent. Sure, it's very important, but urgent, understand the difference of urgent. Urgent means I have to do it right now.
Mhm.
What might be a scenario that's urgent?
Bathroom.
There you go. Exactly. Yes. Could be urgent. Now that we bring it up. So my kid's sick at school and I need to go pick them up. That would be important and urgent. That wouldn't be, oh my gosh, that's important, but I'll be there in a little bit.
I feel like calls that come through are pretty urgent, at least for me.
So
Like
I'll tell you this. If Jose, who owns our company, was sitting in this room in a meeting, in our team meetings, let's just say, and he got a call from anyone that wasn't something like a child, one of his children or his wife or something to that effect. Let's say it is a lender or it's his buyer, not that he doesn't work with buyers, his seller, because they have a question. Do you think that he would ever get up in the middle of a meeting and leave this room and get on his phone for any reason? I can tell you the answer. It's no. It's absolutely no, never. There is nothing that's so damning in real estate that we have to drop. Understanding urgent means drop it right now. So we have to really think about what that is and be very careful about that because more things are very important, but not urgent. But let's take it away from the extreme situations. Let's talk more about our daily activities. So It might be more urgent if I'm paying for internet leads. So let me give you another scenario. I'm paying for Zillow and it's costing me hundreds of dollars a month. Not, you wouldn't be sitting in a meeting with a buyer and get a call and say, hold that thought, I'm gonna go walk outside in a showing and take this call. And by the way, if you're doing that, you should absolutely not. You shouldn't make your buyer, in the only time I would ever answer my phone in a scenario when I'm with clients would be as it's an emergency. I can see it's a family member, they've called me 3 times, something must be wrong. And it better not be bring me home some food. My family knows better, because occasionally that's what it is. So you should never walk away, but if I'm at the office out here, or I'm not in a meeting or in a class, and I'm paying money for leads and my phone rings, it might be urgent and important to get up and take that call. Right? That's not something that's important, but not urgent. If I'm spending hundreds of dollars a month, I better answer that darn phone. Or if a client left me a message about a dire situation, I better get back quickly. If I'm negotiating an offer and it's not multiple offers, is it urgent? But if it is multiple offers and I just left the house and the agent's saying you've got 45 minutes to get your offer in because we're about to accept another one, then that could be pushed up to urgent. Then I'm going to move that above just my normal lead gen. Would I not put the offer together because, oh gosh, on my calendar, this is my lead gen time? Of course not. You're going to move those things around. So in my mind, when I think of these 4 quadrants, I'm imagining my Google Calendar and how I prioritize what I'm doing. So like, I prepared for this class yesterday, because it was important, but not urgent. Let's say I didn't do that. If I didn't print these out, I didn't have it from the resource where I got it, and I came in this morning 5 minutes before the time class started, wouldn't the level of me preparing this class have been urgent and important because now I didn't do what I was supposed to do yesterday? So you're gauging, you're not just, this is not meant just to have examples of this, to have a conversation. It's meant to envision your calendar and then leave places in there for those urgent things that come up, right? You have to have some time blocks for those kinds of things. It usually isn't urgent to show a house. That doesn't mean I'm not going to do it today. It just means I can't drop what I'm doing right now and go. I can get you in at 3 o'clock, but I can't get you in at 11:30. There's things I have to do. I have to schedule the appointment. I have to leave where I am and, oh gosh, that's 45 minutes away. I couldn't possibly get there. Make sense?
I need to do better at this, I think.
Yeah, yeah, because some people feel like,
I feel
don't,
like everything's urgent. I'm like,
it's
like
not.
everything's like,
It's not.
but that's just how I am, I think. I try.
You know why though? You know how you help yourself with it too? I don't know if you, some people think everything's urgent because they don't write, I'm not saying this is you, but they don't write anything down. You're afraid you're not going to answer that question. You're afraid you're not going to remember that you needed that thing because you want to get it off your plate right now.
I just feel like if I don't do it right away, I'm not like giving them my best value. I don't know. It's just how
To the
I am.
client. So
Yeah.
by the way, we teach our clients how to treat us. Let me give you an example. And this is always the one I use. I had a client who, they were a buyer, they called me day and night. They needed stuff constantly. I always answered. I always replied. It didn't matter what day of the week it was. It doesn't matter if it's vacation. It doesn't matter if it's Thanksgiving. It doesn't matter what time of night it is. No matter what, I always answered and I always replied immediately. One time I was in the movie theater. One time I was in a movie theater and it was probably 10 o'clock at night. I know this because it was Twilight. So this is when when Twilight was a thing. And it was like one of those Twilight, I don't remember which one it was, but it was one of the ones where you went at 10 o'clock at night, you get in that damn line to get in that theater so that you could be the first group of people to see the Twilight, whatever series it was. And so I'm in a dark damn theater at 10:30 at night and they're blowing up my phone, not with text messages, calling me. And I didn't answer and I didn't reply to the next day. And they called my broker at the time and complained that they didn't want to work with me anymore because I never replied to them. So they took that one example of that one time, and here's why. Because I trained them
Yeah, you were answering.
to always respond immediately. So they assumed, what if I was sleeping? What if I didn't even say I was in a movie. I said I was sleeping.
Yeah, I probably would have. It was
What
like,
if I was actually sleeping? But no, they were mad and didn't want to work with me anymore because I didn't one time answer my phone and didn't call them back. I called them back at 8:30 the next morning. It wasn't 3 days later. So that's what happens to you if everything is urgent and important. I also love this piece of it where effort and results, and it's usually the opposite of what we think. So, and I always say it wrong. So like 80% of our effort brings us 20% of our results. So that means that 80% of the lead generating I'm doing is only going to bring 20% of those results, and then vice versa. So I think the moral of this story is to focus on the results, which is the 20%, and then how much effort I need to put into that. This just gives you an example of a top real estate agent's calendar schedule, what they're doing. What they're doing from 8 o'clock in the morning, what they're doing at lunchtime, what they're doing throughout their day. I have many examples of calendars in the drive. We used to do our Monday work day, and that's a very regimented, even broken down in some cases by 15 minutes on there of things that you can be doing with your day. I have a folder in the drive that's a Jeff Glover timeline. So a lot of the stuff that we pulled into our Monday work day was from some of the Jeff Glover trainings that I've been to. So if you're thinking, gosh, I don't know what to put on my calendar, look at the Monday workday schedule because we really had everything perfectly mapped out. All right. We will reflect back on some of these things. Like I said, throughout the month in Dominate Your Week, there'll be some other classes that are happening to go through those topics. Questions. I know we had today budgeted from 10 to 11:30. But I'd like to get you out of here 15 minutes early if you guys don't have any further questions, or if you do, shout them out. All right, guys, so here's what I want you to do is take that workbook and go in and do those few, there's not that many, there's only like what, 3 or maybe 3 or 4 exercises in there. Go through and do that because I would love to be able to have you engage in the conversation. For the next several Mondays about those topics. And I will mention that also in the chat so that anyone who didn't come can catch up with us as well. All right, well, thank you so much. We do have group scripting this Friday on Zoom. All right, thanks, guys. Have a good rest of your week.